Just ahead on retirement results, 3 words every retiree dreads: required minimum distributions. We'll tell you how to take advantage of those RMDs, as they're known, so you're not just withdrawing money to pay the tax man. Plus, 3 rules to follow for a successful retirement. We'll also share how we recently solved a viewer's financial conundrum in our Problem Solver segment, and we'll play another round of everyone's favorite financial game show, Right or Wrong. All that and more coming up as Retirement Results starts right now. And welcome to another edition of Retirement Results with Ford Stokes. I'm Matt McClure here alongside Ford. He is the CEO of Active Wealth Management, also our Chief Financial Advisor. Ford, are you ready to help set people up for a successful retirement?
We're going to give it our best shot here.
Let's do it then.
Here's our financial wisdom quote of the week.
And we're going to start off with our quote of the week, some inspiration we like to do toward the beginning of the show each and every time we get together here. And this time around, it is author and investment expert Robert G. Allen who we are getting our words of inspiration from. Here's our quote. How many millionaires do you know who have become wealthy by investing in savings accounts? I rest my case.
Right.
What do you think about that?
Bottom line is you got to stay invested. Yeah. You got to stay invested to keep pace with inflation. You got to stay invested to kind of fund your lifestyle. You can't just put them in coffee cans and bury them in the backyard and go get the metal detector out. You can't just put it in your mattress, right? You've got to actually stay invested. Savings accounts aren't going to be the way to go. I will just tell you, bank CD rates, even though they're elevated what they've been traditionally, they're not keeping pace with inflation, or the real rate of inflation, if you will. So I would just say stay invested, but he's absolutely right. You don't become a millionaire just by putting things in savings accounts.
That's absolutely right. And, that's a big part of the show today, is making sure that your money is working for you at all stages of life, both, through your working years into retirement and beyond. And, one of the things that we find that can be an issue with having money working for you is when you turn the age of 73, if you have certain qualified accounts, and you are then required to take distributions from those accounts to pay Uncle Sam, right? I mean, these are required minimum distributions, RMDs as they're known. And, you turn 73 and Uncle Sam's got his hand out saying, hey, I want my money.
Yeah, they want that money. They need the taxes to start paying on this runaway deficit that we have. Or, according to U.S. Debt Clock, we're well over $34.6 trillion of U.S. national debt, which is frightening. Actually, now the debt services on just the interest service on our national debt is now over $1 trillion a year. That starts adding up to real money, right? And so you've got to make sure that you're prepared for your own economy and do a much better job than the U.S. government's done.
Yeah. And some people, I think, have this idea of, okay, I'm going to take out my RMD because the government's making me do that. That's a requirement. That's why it's a required minimum distribution, right? I'm going to take that, I'm going to put it in my savings account, or maybe even worse, my checking account, things like that. Instead of that, because obviously we just had our quote of the week, nobody is going to become a millionaire by putting it in the savings account.
Right.
So what should they be doing with that money instead, you think?
Well, there's a couple really great strategies. Also, there's one truth that you and I have found in working with clients for so long. We've seen folks that want to put more money in their checking account, and they get less and less comfortable with less money in their checking account. So it ends up, I have clients that are not comfortable unless they have at least $100,000 sitting in their checking account. And they want to have that 6-month fund, 12-month fund, 18-month fund, all sitting in their checking account, not even in a savings account, not even a bank CD. And the alternatives are to consider carving out, half of that large account and try to put it into something called a MYGA, or multi-year guaranteed annuity. That kind of is what we call a bank CD buster. We call it beating bank CDs, right? Is a segment we have on our radio show. and it pays typically higher rates than bank CDs do. That you can get these MYGAs in 2, 3, 5, and 6 year plus increments or lengths of term, and therefore you can get a higher rate of return. What else is really neat about MYGAs, Matt, is that with a bank CD, you get a 1099-I based on the interest you generated for that year. But with a MYGA, you don't. So even if let's say you're on a 2-year bank CD, you've got to pay taxes on the interest you generated in year one, even if you don't take the interest personally in your checking account and go spend it. With a MYGA, you don't. You only pay when you withdraw money or you surrender the policy and take the principal plus the gains. And we're seeing MYGA rates that are very high, that are 5-6+% on a 2-year, 3-year MYGA. So I strongly encourage everybody to call the phone number on the screen, or also click the QR code, or just visit retirementresults.com to schedule a financial consultation with you or myself or Sam or Jacob or any of our advisors to make sure that they are getting set up the right way and they're not losing out on the money they could be making. Because with a MYGA making 5 or 6%, let's say you've got $100,000 in a MYGA, it's like somebody sitting there at your breakfast table making $500 a month that you don't have to pay.
Yeah.
That's a pretty neat situation. And the other would be if you've got a little bit more of a longer time horizon for that money, you could invest it into a fixed index annuity and get even higher rates of return.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, was going to be about the fixed indexed annuity, because it's something that we've talked about before, but not necessarily in this context. And taking those RMD distributions and then reinvesting those into something like that, I think it's going to be, and that's really what the show is all about today, at least this first part of the show, is reinvesting. And that's really what you're doing. You're not just taking it and, like you say, putting it under the mattress or in a checking account or a savings account. You're actually putting that money back to work for you.
Right. And also, when RMDs start getting higher and higher and higher, by the time you turn 90 years old, you're going to be able to take out like over 8% of your overall retirement account each year. And that is well in advance of the 4% rule we're going to talk about, I think, later on in the show. And you got to reinvest some of that money or you're going to run out of money.
Yeah.
So the government, when they're taking their taxes and they're forcing you to take your RMDs, they're also putting downward pressure on your portfolio just for you to comply with the IRS regulations. Also, one other thing I want to make sure everybody understands, if you miss your RMDs for a given tax year, it is the highest tax rate in the tax code.
Wow.
It's 50% of what if you miss. Now, Secure Act 2.0, it got a little bit better, but it's still very much punitive if you miss taking your RMDs for that year. But you really should be investing that money back into something else that's making you money versus just sitting into a checking account and spending it.
Yeah, and that, you want to avoid, as you said, what is the stiffest penalty in the IRS's arsenal, and that is that RMD distribution or lack thereof penalty, because that can be, very, very rough on anybody's retirement plan, definitely. All right, Ford, well, thank you for that. Of course, we have much more to come here. Now, if you would like to get started on your results in advance retirement plan, all you have to do is scan the QR code on your screen. You can also give a call to the number on your screen or just go to retirementresults.com. Stick around. We've got much more. Ford set it up a minute ago. We've got some rules to follow, maybe even break, because rules are meant to be broken after all. We'll tell you which ones you should follow and which ones you can break for a better retirement coming up. Retirement Results continues next.
Scan the QR code on the screen with your smartphone to visit retirementresults.com/plan. That's retirementresults.com/plan. Our team is standing by and ready to start building your successful retirement plan today.
Welcome back to Retirement Results. I'm Matt McClure here with Ford Stokes, our Chief Financial Advisor. And planning for retirement can feel just a bit overwhelming a lot of the time. There are a lot of different things that you have to consider, and often your options come with complex rules and requirements to keep the accounts active. Luckily, though, there are a few rules that are really guidelines a lot of the time here that could help you create a more solid foundation for your money and for your retirement. And let's go through those rules right now. And Ford, we're going to start with the rule of 100. I think probably maybe the easiest to kind of understand and grasp onto here.
Yeah, it's rule of 100 is really more of a risk profile rule. So let's say you're 60 years young, and if you take 100, subtract 60 from it, which is your age, you've got 40 left over. Well, that represents 40% of what your portfolio should be at risk in the markets. Most people are probably gasping when they hear me say that because they're probably invested up to 80%, especially after bonds have performed so poorly over the last 3 years. You're seeing more and more people go with a moderate aggressive portfolio with 80% stocks and 40% bonds. We recommend a moderate to moderate aggressive portfolio with 60 to 80% stocks and ETFs that we use to implement our portfolios, and then 20 to 40% of fixed indexed annuities or a balance between the two, and replace bonds altogether. Because what we would ask for is like, hey, look, why are you paying advisory and portfolio fees on your income, right? But the rule of 100 is more of a guideline on how much risk you should actually assume. And as you get older, when our human capital goes down as we get older, because we're not going to work as long, but our wealth capital goes up, we need to be much more conservative in protecting the wealth capital that we have.
Yeah, that's right. And, definitely something to keep in mind and consider. And of course, it all has to do, that could be a little bit different math for you based on your particular situation, because maybe your people live really long. Maybe you've got a longer time horizon. Maybe you're in fantastic health. Maybe you're not. Maybe you don't have that type of history in your family. Those types of things can sort of change that and whatever your risk tolerance might be. So that's why it's important to, of course, get a plan that's personalized for you, which is what we do here at Retirement Results and at Active Wealth Management as well. Also, 4% rule. You talked about, okay, rule of 100. Our second rule here now is the 4% rule. What is the 4% rule and why is it a thing?
The 4% rule is really there to provide guardrails so you don't run out of money, so you don't overspend and don't over withdraw money from your retirement accounts and your investment accounts. We want to do everything we can so your money will outlive you versus you outliving your money. If you draw down your accounts by 4% or less each year, it is likely you're not going to run out of money even over a 35 plus year retirement. So many people find it difficult when they take their Social Security income and they combine it with 4% to live off of that only. One of the ways and strategies we can do is help people consider a fixed index annuity and get a higher payout ratio of their income portion of their portfolio, that 40 or 50% of their assets they're going to use to generate income. I would encourage anybody that's watching us to go ahead and check out that number on the screen. Go ahead and give us a call or click the QR code on your phone and go straight to retirementresults.com and schedule a consultation with us so they can really understand how they can generate more income from the assets they have and enjoy retirement more, and also enjoy time with their family and their friends. It's just, there are different ways to do this, and I think a lot of people are really struggling to get by on just 4% withdrawal rate.
Yeah, and of course, as you said there, that consultation is something that we provide to our viewers free of charge and free of any obligation. You're only going to work with us if we determine together, working together with you, that it is right for you. So that is something to keep in mind there, because it's not like we're going to forcing you to work with us here.
Also, I want to
no obligation at all.
I want to jump in real quick, Matt. So a lot of advisors recommend like a 3.2% withdrawal rate on a 3.2% rule because of the volatility that we've seen in the marketplace, because of inflation, because of other things. It is very difficult to consider a 3.2% withdrawal rate based on what's going on with inflation as well. But if on the math here, we can just show it on the screen. If you take $1 million portfolio and you were taking a 4% withdrawal rate, that is $40,000 US that you're going to take from the portfolio. And if it's in an IRA environment, that means you also owe taxes on that money. But let's say the average couple is making, right around, let's say, $36,000 a year in Social Security income. So, and they're making $3,500 a month in their 4% withdrawal rate. So they're right there at $6,500 they're going to live off of a year. That's still a pretty good situation, but it still sometimes doesn't still make ends meet. We've got to do everything we can to help that client meet and exceed their monthly expenses so they can start building a retirement with a positive retirement income surplus, not a negative retirement income gap.
There you go. Well, the last retirement rule that we're going to talk about right now is the rule of 72. And now this one involves just a little bit more math, but not much. It's not that complicated.
Right. No, it's good. So you take the rule of 72. It's really about determining how quickly your assets are going to double. So let's say if you get an average interest rate of 8%, if you divide 72 by 8, you've got a remainder of 9, right? And so you've got 9, so that means it's 9 years for your assets to double if you get an 8% average annual interest rate. But the same is true on credit cards. If you've got a 9%, and most people don't have that low of an interest rate on their credit cards, that debt, if you only pay the minimum, will double.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, of course, these are all great guidelines to use for your retirement. And if you want help, if you believe after listening to us here talking that you need help in determining how best to use these rules to make your retirement everything that it should be and everything that you deserve for it to be, because you do deserve a retirement that you can take pride in, as I like to say a lot. That is something that we can help you with at Active Wealth Management. Just give a call to the number on your screen. You can also scan the QR code or go to retirementresults.com and get started with a no obligation consultation. We'll stick around, much more to come here on Retirement Results. We've got a problem solver segment to come next as we tell you how we helped some recent clients meet their needs for their retirement. Stick around. Welcome back to Retirement Results. It is time now for our problem solver segment. We're going to tell you how we've been able to help other viewers of the show as they plan their financial future. And as, of course, with all of our examples and problem solvers here, we change any names and personal details to protect the identity of those involved. You know, as the, what was it, Dragnet used to say, the names were changed to protect the innocent. Well, the names were changed to protect the client in this particular case. And Ford, here is the situation. So Mark is a viewer who called in for his free, no obligation consultation. He's 68 years old. He's an attorney for a federal government agency. He makes a good living, so he wants to keep working and then retire in 5 years at the age of 73. So Mark's done a really great job actually in saving for retirement. He has a total nest egg of $1.8 million. And most of his savings is actually $1.6 million. That is in a tax-deferred IRA, traditional IRA. So here's the problem, though. Mark's planning to receive $40,000 a year from his pension at work, and after accounting for he and his wife's Social Security benefits, they're going to end up with a $40,000 a year income gap to fill in order to meet their budget for retirement. So, Ford, the question is then, what is the solution for Mark?
Well, the solution for Mark, and what he wanted to do too, we shared a fixed index annuity with him. He's investing $500,000 in an initial premium into that fixed index annuity out of the 1.6. So it's the same tax treatment. He actually has his money in a TSP, a thrift savings plan that so many of our military friends have. That's the 401k for the government, especially for the military and folks in government. And we've seen that in a lot of our communities out there. And so he's going to invest $500,000 into a fixed index annuity. He's going to get a 20% immediate bonus. So his income account is going to be worth $600,000 day one of the policy, which is a pretty nice situation. He came to us shortly after 2022 when he saw an erosion in the market from his portfolio, and he was really happy to be able to put another 20% back into an income base. And then he also gets 8% growth, interest growth off his original $500,000 over the next 5 years. And he's going to generate literally pretty close to $50,000 a year in annual income. And it's going to grow 0.1% each year that he ages. So therefore he's getting much more than the typical 4% that we talked about before. 4% of $500,000 would have been 20 grand. Instead, he's getting almost 50. He's getting really close to that 10% payout ratio of the original principal that he put in. Couple things that Mark really helped us out with. One is he obviously brought a significant amount of assets to the table. The second is he was able to say, you know what, I don't need income for another 5 years because my government agency wants me to stick around for another 5. They have some government goals and all those kind of things. And that's great. So he was able to allow the money to grow without turning on the withdrawals or without annuitizing the money. And so that was really helpful too. And now he and his wife have got an over $10,000 income surplus built in, ready to go when he stops working, and he doesn't have to worry about going back to work as a 73-year-old attorney.
Yeah, and that's fantastic, and so great that we were able to help Mark out and his wife as well with that particular problem. Now, if people are watching the show right now and they say, oh, I actually have a similar issue or even another issue that's a problem that they want solved, what should they do? How can they reach out to us?
They should just reach out to us at retirementresults.com and click that schedule a consultation button in the upper right corner. They'll get booked directly into our calendars, and we're happy to help them get started.
Yeah, absolutely. It's as easy as that. You can go to, once again, as Ford said, retirementresults.com. To get there, you can just easily take out your phone, scan that QR code that's on your screen right now, or you can dial the number that is on your screen also. All right, well, coming up next here on Retirement Results, we are going to welcome in our own Sam Davis. He is going to lead us in another edition of Right or Wrong. We'll test your financial knowledge when Retirement Results continues right after this. Welcome back to Retirement Results. I'm Matt McClure here alongside Ford Stokes, and now we are joined by our very own Sam Davis. He is the guy we bring in to test our financial knowledge here every episode with Right or Wrong.
Hey, happy to be here. And yes, I'm here to quiz you both, starting with Ford. And Ford, is this right or wrong? If a retiree withdraws 10% a year from their portfolio, they'll likely run out of money in approximately 12 years or even less and have to rely on just Social Security.
Unfortunately, that's right. So you'll have some growth over that 10 years. We really want to adhere to that 4% withdrawal rate that Matt and I talked about earlier in the show. We want to do everything we can to not take out more than 4% withdrawal rate. And also, you can add your Social Security income on top of it or any pensions and things like that. Super excited about people trying to stay within their retirement budgets. And please, if you start taking out 10%, it is a real big problem later. I just don't want to see where you outlive your money. I want to make sure that your money can outlive you.
Yeah, often we're seeing that people are retired these days as long as they actually spent working. So it's important to make sure that money lasts.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, next one's for you. Our firm, Active Wealth Management, recommends that people pay off their mortgage before or early on during retirement. Right or wrong?
That one is absolutely right. The happiest clients that we work with are the ones who have paid off their house, paid off that home mortgage. I mean, it really, depends on your individual situation. Of course, there are certain circumstances in which you might not want to do that. But if you can pay off that house, just think about this, that mortgage payment in retirement can take up one of those Social Security checks more than likely. Mm-hmm. So you are saving yourself a huge chunk every month, and that money then can go into living the retirement that you want to live. And you can also take the opportunity then to downsize to a smaller home. So then you might still have, a mortgage payment on that smaller home, but it's smaller home, smaller mortgage payment. And so then you're saving yourself money anyway, and you don't have the big house to maintain when there's, all the family has grown up and they've moved along and all of that. So yeah, our happiest clients are the ones who have paid off that home mortgage and done the things that we talked about here. That's absolutely right.
Yeah, great tip. Definitely something we recommend. That mortgage payment can consume so much of your monthly budget. Just imagine freeing that up and being able to use that for all the discretionary expenses, all the fun things that you have in your smart vision for retirement. All right, Ford, I've got one more for you. Right or wrong, the retirement red zone starts 5 years prior to the primary breadwinner retiring and stretches through the first 5 years of that individual's retirement and is considered the most important period in retirement planning. Is that right or wrong?
It's absolutely right. Also, retirement is a lot like a lot of things. You finish how you start. You really want to get started the right way by staying with that 4% withdrawal rate, living within your means, actually exceeding the expenses with your income, and really growing those assets. If you can start out that way, you're really going to enjoy retirement. You won't be looking at that stock ticker and hoping you get some miracle return out there. You may not go to the blackjack table and try to double your money or to put all on red or black. Hopefully you won't do that. We don't recommend that as financial advisors, obviously, but it absolutely is a big deal to start your retirement out correctly. And that starts 5 years before. One other quick tidbit that I would say is 5 years before retirement, you may or may not know, a lot of our clients and a lot of our viewers may or may not know that Medicare does a 2-year look back. So it determines your Medicare surcharges and how much they're going to take from your Social Security income benefit check to fund Medicare Part A and B. A lot of people don't know that. It's a 2-year look back. So you want to get broom swept clean if you're going to do any Roth conversions. Try to get that done before age 63, or do that later and just deal with the additional Medicare surcharges. That's another really good tidbit. And also, the longer you wait, the more you can make with Social Security. Just be careful to not overdraw beyond that 4% rate.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. We love working with the people who are early on in that retirement red zone so we can help them get that ball across the end zone and score. So.
Yeah, never too early to start planning for retirement. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Well, Sam, thank you so much for leading us once again. And right or wrong, look forward to doing it again next time.
Yeah, will do. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us for this edition of Retirement Results. That is all the time we have this time around. But if you do have any questions about the topics we've been discussing on this week's show, once again, you can get in touch with us by calling the number on the screen. You can also visit retirementresults.com or just scan the QR code that's right there on your screen as well. For Ford Stokes and Sam Davis, I'm Matt McClure. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time for more Retirement Results.
Visit retirementresults.com/plan. Our team is standing by and ready to start building your successful retirement plan today.
Ford Stokes and Active Wealth Management are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Information provided is not intended as tax or legal advice and should not be relied on as such. You're encouraged to seek tax or legal advice from an independent professional. Any comments regarding safe and secure products and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Fixed insurance and annuity product guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing company and are not offered by Brookstone. Any bonuses mentioned may be subject to additional restrictions and regulations based on the offering annuity company. You may not receive the bonuses if the contract is fully surrendered or if traditional annuitization payments are taken. And if the policy is partially surrendered, it could result in a partial loss of bonuses. Because these are bonus annuities that may include higher surrender charges, longer surrender charge periods, lower caps, higher spreads, or other restrictions that are not included in similar annuities that don't offer a bonus feature.